You're very welcome to Football Pass, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Gordon Strachan. We've got an awful lot to talk about, Gordon, but let's start off with Celtic's trip to Dubai. What are your thoughts on that? Should they have gone? Do you think it sends the wrong message to the public?
Well, I think everybody's discussed that, and I don't know what angle we've got to come from because it's a hard subject to discuss. Football's easy, but COVID is very hard to discuss because there's so much going wrong, so many deaths, or whatever. So it is really an uncomfortable discussion, but we'll have it, and we'll try our best to try and analyse this. And what I've got to say is that first of all, that if you talk about football, and I think we're maybe looking at maybe MPs, MSPs, and the First Minister throwing things about flippantly and discussing football. But I think first of all, you've got to understand that football is an easy target for everybody, especially politics or discussions. Everybody thinks football is it's a business you can have a right good go at. But what people don't realise in these who are having a go at football is a wonderful, wonderful business with wonderful people and wonderful players who, in general, behave themselves very, very well. Very, very well. There are people in every business, and politicians will tell you as well, as been seen in their business, that one or two can go astray. That's for sure. So nobody's blameless in this world at this moment. There's so many trying to make everything happen and make it happen for the right thing. But then, as I said to you, that football always gets this knock. It's an easy hit, and we'll discuss salaries and everything later on. But you've got to start with Celtic. Yeah. Well, this, as far as I'm concerned, it's still legal to go to Dubai. That's for sure, because I do scroll up, scroll through the information I get in the morning through tabloids. I know for a fact that everybody's in Dubai at the moment. I don't see why footballers, especially Celtic, who've got fantastic protocols, the security and the safety of the people around them, and the people, the players, and anybody who gets near them, they keep them aside. So that, I think if you say to every manager in Scotland, maybe Steven Gerrard might want to do it because footballers think like this, and football managers, well, it didn't work for us the last time, so we'll no go there. But I think if you ask, especially James McPake, who's had to train on the beach this week with Dundee, and travel to Forfar, train on there, and then what most people don't know about Dundee is they change their gear that they train in the pouring rain and the snow at the back of their car and change and go home. That doesn't sound. So if you say to James, you want 5-6 days in the, if you ask all the clubs, would you want 5 or 6 days? Yes, we'll have it. We'll stick to the protocols. So Celtic took up this option in November, I think, and it's cleared with everybody. And we all made different plans. I made different plans for this period, but it changed. It just so happens that Dubai and Britain have an open corridor that you can do that. So there's no problem. And you've also got to think, is there a bit of it for the fact that Celtic got beat on Saturday as well? So there's all these things come into this.
What's the importance of the trip for Celtic, do you think?
It's huge in terms of, I think there's a couple of things. One, if you had won the game, you go away there feeling great about yourself, and you're there as a group, and you can start, where do we go? Where's our next stage? It's not really worked that way for Celtic. It's a case of, got beat. That's what's happened. Then they can get together as a group and analyse. Of course, they could have done that at Celtic Park. I understand that. But there's a point where, to get rid of this frustration, being on the training field and working on the things that you know need work on, because they've not had time to work on the things. Games come fast and furious with Celtic and Rangers. They do not have time to work on the things. And again, ask any manager if they've got time, especially at a club that's playing Europe, to have this 5-day period to work on things, Because there's nothing worked on a coach that you want things to work on that you can't work on them. You see things going wrong on the pitch. Where can I do it? Do you think James McPake this week, if he got beat with Hearts, could have went on a pitch in the sand at the Borty Ferry Beach and worked on it? No, he couldn't have. Would have been as good on snow at Forfar? No. Celtic got a chance to work on these things. So obviously, when you make these decisions as a manager, you're open to criticism. I did it myself in Scotland once when I took 2 games on in a week in the summer. And after that, I thought, nah, 2 games is enough. These players couldn't do it. So you cannot point a finger at sometimes just as a misjudgment. Circumstances might have changed completely. And when they made the decision, and also, I don't know how much the trip cost. You want to give away £250,000. And you'll say, well, it's £250,000. But then I'll say to you, well, Celtic gave away £1 million to charities in the last 7 months. You know, so if they're prepared to give away £1 million to charities, I don't think anybody could turn around and say, well, they paid $250,000 to go away for a week.
There's been a lot of criticism levied at the football industry in general throughout the COVID pandemic. Steve Bruce today, he's come out and said, you know, he thinks it's morally irresponsible for football to continue. What are your thoughts on that, Gordon?
Brucey. Yeah, I love him to death. I've got to say that the small things keeping the nation together at the moment. Small things that are just making it bearable to get through. Whether it be programmes on the TV with Ant and Deck and things like that, just make us happy and these kinds of things. Keep doing these programs. The morning programme with, what do you call them, Schofield and the other girl. That's funny. Keep us going. So they're going out their way to keep us going. And football is an entertainment. I don't really know where we'd be in these dark nights without football, mentally. And because we hear a lot about the mental side of this problem in COVID, and to levitate that a wee bit, that football is helping us no end. It is a conversation piece. When the games are finished, during the game, before my mates, you see that? You see, yes, I've seen that. That's taking up 4 or 5 hours a day, which is helping us get through this horrendous period.
Final COVID question, I promise. You know, there've been, I suppose it's thinking of ways to kind of work around COVID, and the football industry in general has worked very hard to be COVID safe. There's, you know, rigorous testing of players. Obviously, there's no fans there. You know, there have been calls actually to vaccinate players because we're spending a lot of money on tests, aren't we? You know, what are your thoughts on you know, football players being fast tracked for vaccinations, Gordon?
I've seen that, and how many would it be? Would you think? Would it be in the Premier League? How many would get fast tracked?
You're counting.
Then you'd probably have to. You have to fast track all the staff as well, I'd imagine. You know, there's no point in having vaccinations for. So I don't know how many it would be. You need to leave that open to the British public. Do you want your footballers safe so they can entertain you? And it's supposed to be the same with television. Do you want them to be safe because they're essential to our mental health at the moment? You know, you
don't think it's a bad idea?
I know one fantastic entertainer, and he was on TV with another couple of lads one night, and the show was fantastic. And this was during the first lockdown. And I texted him to say, listen, brilliant. It's kept, I know I've been speaking to people, you three are keeping us going at the moment. So if you said to me, could he get a vaccine? Please do, give him a vaccine. Give his 2 mates vaccines to make sure that we're getting entertained at this moment. And I think if we're getting reasonably entertained, it's easiest to get through this period. But
how important is, because you touched on mental health there, how important is football to our morale, our national morale? Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland.
Well, I think
how
it's
important
huge.
is it?
I think it's huge. I really do. I think it keeps us ticking over. I know I'm different. I would like to coach at the moment. I can't do it. So the nearest I can get is analysing things on TV. But other people don't analyse it. They just get the thrill and the the fun of watching football and listening to pundits talk. It keeps them alive. You know, if Chris Sutton says something, somebody else, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, these people must be staying on our TV. You know, all these good pundits, and it's
Gordon
talking
Strachan,
points.
Football Pass.
Football Pass, yes. Well, I'm not as I'm more of an analysis rather than a pundit as such. I'd hate to call myself a pundit. I love watching games, and when I go to games, I find the best in people, which I like doing, and I find the best in the games. Some pundits try and find the worst in the games and the worst of the football. But I'm not a pundit as such. I just love to go along a game and try and educate one or two people on the game. So it might be something they can then look for in the next game or the second half. I enjoy doing that. It's far better than talking about COVID, that's for sure.
I know. We're over talking about COVID. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about this weekend. Again, lots going on, but we'll stick to the top end of the table. Celtic Hibs, what are your thoughts ahead of this one?
Well, Celtic have had this time to prepare, that's for sure. So it should be a win for them, because I've got to say, if you don't win and don't play well, then there's the pressure coming on you again. But I was speaking to somebody the other day that works for Celtic. I said, that's what happens with Celtic. It doesn't matter what job you've got in Celtic, you'll be scrutinised. So when they come back, they've got to win, they've got to be playing well, they've got to look fresh and take that advantage. Because there'll be more scrutiny then, trust me. But that's the gambles you've got to take as a manager or a football club. But I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. I think Hibs are an attacking side. Celtic are playing well. Whether they win at the weekend or not, they're playing well at the moment. So that's a good game. And, you know, I'm really looking forward to that game.
I was just going to say to you, Neil Lennon has not given up on the league, and mathematically it is still possible, you know, for Celtic to win the league. You know, can they? Can they, you know,
well,
can they give
it's improbable. It's improbable, but I think a lot depends. And I think this will be the Celtic supporters or Celtic players will be looking at the Aberdeen Rangers game and saying, this is probably it now. You know, if Rangers win and we don't win, you could probably call it the end of the big picture, which is unfortunate at this early stage of the season. But you've got to hold your hands up. I think the Rangers have only dropped, is it 4 points? That's phenomenal going, you know, which is making
Celtic. They do have some injury concerns at the moment.
Yeah, but they've seemed to have handled it not too bad. You know, they've seemed to handle it not too bad. But again, Celtic were looking for anything from that game, so they have something to.
Yeah, Rangers, of course, playing Aberdeen. So, you know, Steven Gerrard's done a fantastic job with the team. Would they ever slip up? Is it possible they'll slip up?
Well, I spoke to Gary McAllister a few months ago, and I was speaking about football. And football makes you suffer before you're successful. And Stephen and Gary and his team suffered a lot over the last 8 months because they were the team that in line to get the criticism. But they've dealt with it brilliantly. Not only have they done well in the Premier League, they've done absolutely fantastic in Europe as well. Matter of fact, some of the best performances have been in Europe. So you could say that Celtic, yes, have dipped a bit. But I'll go back to Celtic and saying when you've got Edward and Griffiths, it's a different team playing together. But Rangers took advantage of that and they've been smashing. They're worthy the leaders at the moment. But if you're a Celtic person like myself, you're hoping that they slip up. So Celtic can make it. If Neil Lennon this weekend, right lads, we've got to pick up 19 points the next night. You don't do that. I think Neil will be saying, if we can get within 7 points of them with 8 games to go, I think that'll be an achievement, to be honest with you.
It's all about a good finish now for Neil Lennon, isn't it?
it's good. It's got to be unbelievable finish, the best finish ever. But you always hope that as a manager. You always believe. Hope's a different thing. Believing is different. You've got to believe they can do that. They've got to believe they can do that. And they have.
What do you think the future holds? What do you think the future holds for Neil, Gordon?
I really don't know. I'm unfortunate as well because I'm quite close to everybody at Celtic, so it's very hard for me to talk about that. And also, Neil is a good friend of mine, as everybody knows. So, but what I would do, like a good friend does, is back him to the hilt. That's for sure. And people say, well, you're just supporting because you're his mate. Well, that's the way it goes when you've got mates. You back them up to the hilt, and hopefully you get the same back one day. It's the same as a manager. You back them up to hilt, and Neil will be backing his players up to hilt, and he's hoping he gets the same back from them. The future, I really don't think Neil's scared about the future, really. I think Neil is only interested in being successful for Celtic. Obviously, it's better if he's there being successful, but I don't think he is scared of anything, to be honest with you, because he's been through everything. So you actually need to be through the ringer sometimes before you take the Celtic manager's job, so it can prepare you just a little bit for it.
It's been a tough year, all right.
Hey, there's a lot worse off than him, and he knows that as well. There's a lot worse off than football players. We know that for a fact. So it's not the be-all and end-all. We really should know that now. Treat it as it meant to be treated as an entertainment, a sport, a bit of fun. I know it's more serious for other people, but there's more serious things happening than what's going on in the football, that's for sure. But I'll go back to it again. It's a big, big part of making sure that the rest of the public, British public, are in a better place because football is getting played.